Yo, what's up, CFO gang? It's your boy Jay Tuck, and you are now tuned into the Cowboys Fans Only channel. So if you are new, do us a huge favor, comment, like, subscribe, somewhere down there, somewhere down there, somewhere down there, and be sure to turn on the notification bell to stay updated with all Dallas Cowboys and NFL draft content. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at jtuck151, and of course, cowboysfansonly.com to get your official merch. Well, we had an incredible show last night. Salute to my girl, Brianna Dix, who came through, broke down the Cowboys situation. We talked about the offseason, Kellen Moore, but now we're back to draft content. And so this guest, I'm not even call her a guest. Like, she is a part of this channel. She's one of my good friends. She's absolutely killing it right now. She was just in Alabama covering the Senior Bowl, so I had to bring her on and get some of this inside intel on what's going on, not only draft-wise, but with the New York Giants. So, ladies and gents, CFO fam, I would like to welcome to the channel my girl, Stephie Smalls. What's going on?
What's up? I'm so happy to be back. This is now, my third time on the show?
Yeah, I think it's your third time, fourth
trying
time.
to link up for some time.
Right.
So it's nice to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know you're always welcome on the show. Like I said, even though you are a Giants fan, right? Cowboys fans like you. They're like, Tuck, you got to have Stephie back on because she's cool. She's not, she doesn't bleed too much blue, so she's rational. Because sometimes we have guests on the show, to be honest with you, and they're just like Daniel Jones over Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
You're rational.
I'm one of the more, I would say, when it comes to something, I'm a little bit more on the sane side as far as Giants fans go, but we've been down bad for a while, so I apologize in advance. Not that I know our behavior will change when things are not bad.
Yeah.
Should that ever happen
Right,
again.
exactly. Well, I know we're going to talk about draft content, but you mentioned the Giants have been down bad for quite some time since the whole boat ride and boat photo, right? But you guys hired a new coach, got a new defensive coordinator today. What is your thoughts? How are you feeling? Are you still kind of bummed out that you're replacing Jason Garrett? Or
I don't even want to say optimistic. I am excited. I like the moves that have been made. The Giants have been stuck in their Giants way for quite some time. This is the first time they really seem like they're starting to clean out house and make, this is what we kind of thought Joe Judge was going to come in and change. And it didn't quite happen. And, he's going back to the Patriots. He's okay. Everyone's going to live happily ever after. I'm excited. I'm nervous. But I like what's happened so far. I know better than to get too excited.
Right. So I feel like you're kind of like Cowboys fans right now. We're kind of done with the over-optimism right now. And it's more like the we'll see approach. But I feel like you guys have made an upgrade with the coaching staff. Now, you mentioned that Joe Judge kind of fell flat. Why do you think it didn't work with his tenure in New York? Do you think it was because of the talent, or he just wasn't the proper hire? Because personally, I didn't think he was a good hire. I know he kind of was a special teams guy in New England and kind of brought him in. But what was your thoughts on why it really didn't work for him?
Well, it's so funny because looking back, I was talking about this today. Why on earth did we think that bringing on a special teams coordinator as a first-time head coach was going to go over well with a team that has been just lit up with dysfunction? I think, unfortunately for him, and I won't say that he'll never be a head coach in the league, because maybe he will and he might have success. It'd be very hard to put someone in the situation that they were given with Gettleman, with the guys that are on the team, and to have success. I mean, they've been messing up, you name it, for years and years, and it's a shame. And I think Joe Judge kind of very easy to put a target on his back. He wasn't, he was able to bring in Patrick Graham, and then Mara was like, I'm actually going to bring in Garrett and Colombo for you. And you got to give your GM and your head coach a lot more free reign, and I think at least we're seeing that right now. So it looks like things are positive. I wish Joe Judge good luck. I hope he does not QB sneak everyone to death over there in New England, but that is no longer my problem.
Right. Well, you mentioned two key words, right, in that sentence. You mentioned Mark Colombo and free reign, right? And Dallas Cowboys fans, me personally, because I know you commented on my tweet when I said this, I personally would like to have Mark Colombo back because our offensive line was horrific this whole season. We didn't think Joe Philbin did a good job. We want Mark Colombo to Free Reign was his rock band, in case y'all didn't know. So he was in a rock band in Dallas called Free Reign, him and a few other offensive linemen. But I would like Mark Colombo back in the house because I feel like this offensive line can use some toughness. The other guy in Jason Garrett, keep him away. I don't know where he's at right now, but where he's at, he needs to stay. But let's transcend to the draft. So when you're from a Giants point of view, what are you guys looking for in the draft? I know you guys drafted Kadarius Toney, who had a decent season thus far last year. But what is your that's the thing that we're focusing on from a Giants fan's perspective.
Right. I think that, and I put out a tweet too, because now Giants fans do this very cute thing where once things get exciting, then they start having tunnel vision and forgetting about what we need to get done, what the problems are. So to see these drafts that don't have a single lineman in them is absolutely absurd to me. They turned into an unwatchable team, and that's a shame, especially and I'll speak for NFC East. It's just funner when the entire NFC East is competitive.
Speak for yourself. I kind of like the NFC East the way it is.
Okay, I know. Just for them, we get a nice little advantage there, but I prefer it when I'm able to see some watchable games, absolute disaster. So they've got to address the line. The nice thing is this is a pretty deep lineman class. So I don't know that I 100% need them to take two guys in the first round. I definitely would be optimistic with them taking an edge, which is another piece that is definitely lacking there. But I think as far as O-line and edge go, I actually would be super interested in them taking a center and kicking Gates over if he does come back healthy. I like him better at center, so I would be okay with that. And there's definitely some guys and a lot of value as far as the O-line goes. The defensive players, they showed up at the Senior Bowl. They they clowned the O-line players for a lot during practices. So O-line and edge are great, and I really would like them to grab themselves a tight end at some point in this draft.
Yeah, we're tight end friends, so I know we're probably going to talk about the same tight ends here. So let's go ahead and get into the Senior Bowl, because you were out there in Alabama covering the Senior Bowl. You were there all week, weren't you, for practice and everything, right?
Yes, I did miss the first day of practice, so I didn't get to see that, unfortunately. But I was there all week. I didn't get to see the game because of a family issue, but I was there enough, I think, to get a nice taste of things. So
for the people who never been, I never been, what was the experience like? Was it your first time in Mobile, Alabama? Because that was my thing. A lot of people tucking to go to the Senior Bowl. I'm like, what am I going to do in Alabama? If it was out in Vegas, I'd have been more open to it. But what was the experience like being behind the scenes working in the Senior Bowl?
Yeah, and I think next year, I would definitely do it differently. It's an awesome experience, especially, to really get your eyes on these guys, to be able to see practice. And this is where you start catching those guys that, maybe are flying under the radar, and you're able to see how they do against a lot of these other competitive players. Because they had a solid turnout this year, especially filled with some of the guys that maybe we wouldn't have seen in years past at Senior Bowls. But it's awesome. You're as close as you could possibly imagine to these guys. And you're around a bunch of other content creators. So to be able to bounce off ideas, and to even network too, it's really good for people that are in the industry. And for me, right, I was a med student this time last year still.
Right, I saw that tweet.
So to be at the Senior Bowl, it was definitely surreal for me, but to just try and absorb everything you can to bring home. You get a first little taste, especially for some of those guys that you maybe don't always watch because they're not the most popular games for college football.
Right, exactly. So I want to talk about a few prospects. So I have listed some of the guys going into the Senior Bowl that were kind of my pet cats that I had my eye on as a Cowboys fan. And the first one was Perion Winfrey, who ended up winning the MVP. So tell me a little bit about what you saw. And what I saw from my scouting report is he's not just a defensive end, he can play across the line. He can play one tech, he can play three tech, he can play edge. He can do it all, and he's very disruptive. And we saw glimpses of that in the Senior Bowl game with Perion Winfrey, but you were kind of watching him throughout practice. What were your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he definitely was more versatile than I expected. He wasn't someone that I went down there even, wanting to look at. I made my watch list and he wasn't quite on there, but he was a guy that definitely was demanding attention. Like, there was a couple guys where no matter what you did, you almost, your eyes were drawn to him. And I'm even like trying to pull up my notes because, there's so much stuff and you're trying to write it all down. And I think was he the one that you brought to my attention?
I think it was either him or Jermaine Johnson. I think it's probably.
Oh, he was like, forget it. I mean, Jermaine Johnson, like, he totally, skyrocketed probably where he will go in this draft. Like, he was bullying the crap out of everyone. And I think that Winfrey just, gave himself, he almost needed that. He was so dominant. And he was someone that I didn't have on my watch list.
Exactly. Yeah, he definitely boosted himself. And that's what you see when it comes to the Senior Bowl. And I tweeted this. It's like, it's kind of split, right? For some players, and I felt like Jermaine Johnson didn't play in the actual game, right? But he buzzed enough during practice throughout the week. He moved up slightly, like his name buzzed enough.
Yeah.
He pretty much did his job, but he didn't play in the game. But for players like Perrion Winfrey, another one of my pet cats is Jalen Tolbert out at South Alabama. Like, those type of players that were kind of on the cusp, their name was floating, they were able to push their name now to the forefront a little bit higher. So,
right.
It's a gift and a curse. I can understand if you're going to be one of these players, you're kind of like, I'm going to be a first round pick. You might not want to really risk the opportunity to play in the Senior Bowl, maybe a few practices here and there. But for those guys who might be second round, third round, I feel like a lot of players really push themselves to the next level.
When it comes to him, the first things I can think of, like, because he definitely was one of the more impressive defenders down there, like, is just strength and speed. Like, those two things alone, like, he just dominated everyone with his strength. And then on top of just how, just his technique in general. So he's someone to watch out for. It's going to be competitive with these defenders as far as the draft goes. So he might be one of those sneaky values that you don't necessarily get. He might seem like a steal later on. He feels very, we're going to look back and be like, damn, they stole him.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And my guy's special case says, I know it would hurt Tucker. Jermaine Johnson went to the Giants. Not necessarily. I wouldn't be hurt if he went to the Giants. If he went to the Eagles, then that's where I'm going to hurt. Because, I don't really have a hate towards the Giants like I do the Eagles and Washington. They're kind of like third in the division on my hate list.
Yeah.
And so Jermaine Johnson went to the Giants. I would be okay with that. But granted, I would like him to be completely out of the NFC East personally. Yeah. But, I'm a Florida State fan. I watched Jermaine Johnson since we brought him in from Georgia last year. My guy, Professor O, mentioned him to me early. He was in Last Chance U, so he played under Coach J.B. Brown. If you don't watch that show, it's one of my favorites. The football season, the basketball season was kind of cool. But Jermaine Johnson, I feel like he's just high motor, high effort, very blue-collar player that can play outside linebacker and also defensive end. And I feel like his work ethic, he jumped throughout the week in the Senior Bowl. So, I even saw a tweet today that said he might have pushed himself to a top 10. Now, me personally, I don't think he's a top 10 pick. Top 15, top 20 is where I have him, like top 20, because I feel like with the defensive ends, with the defensive ends, there's like three guys ahead of him that are a little bit, can do a little bit more than he can do and provide a lot more value. But make no mistakes about it, I think Jermaine Johnson's going to be a tremendous add for any NFL team. Another guy that was outstanding that we've been kind of watching from the Cowboys perspective is Zion Johnson, the guard out of Boston College.
Yeah.
And so I know he's been mocked to us a few times. There was the clip that was floating around of him playing center. So that makes Cowboys fans happy because we don't trust Tyler Biadasz like that. So what was your thoughts on Zion Johnson in the week that he had out there in Alabama?
So I will tell you that probably the position outside of quarterback that I was the most disappointed in was definitely the O-lineman. I went down and was very excited to see a lot of these guys. But Zion Johnson was, even in his group, he was the standout at O-line. He struggled a little bit during practice at center. I see him maybe translating better as a guard at the next level, but the one thing I like about O-linemen that are versatile is they have so much value if you can move them around and they're able to, absorb what they can and be transitioned to wherever you need them on the line. But he, both days was staying late to work on what he needed to. He seems like someone that wants to get better. I see him even a late first round. I could see him going, everything he does, clean pass sets. He definitely stood out to me. And again, wasn't one of the linemen that I was super excited to go down and see. Not that he wasn't on my radar, but again, there was other guys I was excited to see, but he was just opening up lanes in the running game. I think specifically that's where I saw his strength while I was down there.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, I think if he can learn to snap, the snaps don't look the prettiest, right? And there's another guy out there who's one of my favorites, Cole Strange out of Chattanooga, right? He played a little bit center, struggled a little bit, but he's violent if you find him at the right position, which I believe is a guard for the both of them.
Yeah.
But like you said, he was working after practice, he was putting in the effort, and that's what those coaches like to see when they're watching some of these players in the Senior Bowl. How committed are you to the game? So, I like Johnson. Me personally, I'm a Kenyon Green guy out of Texas A&M. Hopefully he falls to us, but to be honest with you, Steph, and we'll talk about it, because I didn't pay much attention to the quarterbacks, but I feel like this just isn't the strongest quarterback draft. So offensive linemen, I call him winter coats. He's getting a winter coat for Christmas, right? I feel like a lot of those offensive linemen are going to fly up the board and go a lot earlier just because there's not that quote-unquote quarterback draft. I know that Pickett kind of pushed himself into the conversation. What are your thoughts on the quarterback? We're not looking for a quarterback. I know you love Daniel Jones. Are you guys looking for a quarterback?
I don't know. I'm torn. I did a mock draft today, and I actually had what are they now? The Washington Commanders or whatever they want to call themselves.
Yeah, go bomb. That's their new thing.
I had them taking Malik Willis. I wasn't overly impressed with any of these guys. I think this is going to be one of those scenarios that we get maybe there is 1 to 2 studs, but again, I don't think you're getting a single guy in this draft that is not a project. And there was a lot to like about Malik Willis. Very athletic, good mobility. He had a very good arm. Carson Strong, day 2, I would make an argument that maybe his arm was kind of similar, and he was someone that I was like, oh, you could throw the ball too, but he was almost throwing it in a show-off way.
Yeah, and he was the
Malik
one.
was doing it, yeah.
Yeah, Strong was the one guy I was like, well, maybe I can make something out of him, but just like you said, the intangibles up here, he was just airing out just to show his arm strength like it was a combine. I just felt like, he did throw the interception in the game, and you're just all right, what's going on, bro? But yeah, so. And
I did like Malik and Pickett were both very, you could see their leadership. Whereas I saw Sam Howell was he would go to talk to some, I felt like they were not even paying attention to him in a lot of the plays. But Malik was obviously showing that he's a leader. Pickett was the same way. I think all of these guys, there's things to like about them and there's things to dislike about them. I think if I had to pick one that probably stood out the most, it is Malik Willis. If you want to talk consistent, maybe Sam Howell. But again, there's things around that you definitely could pick apart. It's going to take a team that's going to need to be patient. So it depends. Malik Willis, I know a lot. Tomlin was over talking to him for quite a bit.
Okay.
So does he land on the Steelers? Maybe. That's probably somewhere where I could see them using Mason Rudolph as long as they can, and then maybe trying to get Malik Willis up to par so that he could be a starter. He almost reminds me it's that raw talent. I'm not comparing them as players, but the raw talent we saw with Trey Lance, but not NFL ready.
Gotcha.
But I think he has everything you need to be a good quarterback in the league. But it's going to take a team is ready to work with him.
Yeah, I can see that. It's going to be a work in progress. You might want to take and stash. And the Steelers probably would be a good fit for him, to be honest with you, with Mike Tomlin. So we'll see with the quarterbacks. I just, I'm watching. I'm just like, like I said, I was trying to force Carson. And I was like, come on, Carson, hold me down. But he really didn't on Saturday. So we'll see. I might just skip the whole quarterback position. Now, let's get to the fun stuff, because we like the fun stuff, Steph. The tight ends. Me personally, I am all aboard the Trey McBride train. Trey McBride that's my number one tight end target. What were your thoughts on the tight ends that you saw out there on the Senior Bowl, but also just in general? Because there were some guys who didn't play in the Senior Bowl. But what was your thoughts on watching the tight ends?
Yeah, I feel like for some reason this seems like the position wasn't getting a lot of love prior to the Senior Bowl. And the echo chamber sucks you in sometimes. So I had pretty low expectations. I had guys like McBride and Likely kind of on my radar going down there. And McBride definitely is the real deal. I mean, when he's defended, even he's an absolute bully. He did better on 7-on-7. He's a complete physical specimen, everything that you want, especially in a receiving back. He was great. And I don't knock that. There was definitely a couple guys that surprised me. Greg Dulcich is one of the guys that I was very, very, very impressed with. But I thought overall the tight ends it was a strong showing by all of them.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a strong tight end class. I feel like last year was pretty much Kyle Pitts, right? Because we were all aboard the Pitts train. And then you had some other guys down here with like his and other guys. But it's like right now, I feel like you have Jeremy Ruckert, you have Greg, as you mentioned, Isaiah Likely. You also have Jalen Wydermere out of Texas A&M. So there's a lot of guys you can probably get in that mid-second round cluster. But I feel like once they go, it's going to be like boom, 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 boom.
I know. So, and there's also guys, right? Like one of the guys that definitely impressed me more because he's someone, again, that wasn't on my watch list, like Cole Turner. And he's someone that I got to talk to for a little bit, and I just like the mentality of this kid. I like, he compared himself, even was a receiver as well, kind of like Waller. So I like to see what he's able to do on a team. I don't know, I think he has the potential to be a starting tight end, absolutely. He didn't do great with separation, and there's things to knock on him, but I think he's another name to keep your eye on. There's some of these sleeper guys that I think are going to surprise people, and a lot of teams need a tight end this year.
Yeah, they do. I think we're going to need one specifically. I see everyone in the chat saying they want a 6'6" tight end, Ruckert or Ferguson probably. Let's go for freaks at guard and tight end. Yeah, I agree. Let's see here. Yeah, so like I said, y'all, my favorite is Trey McBride. I got a video chopping. I have to do something different for Trey, something special for Trey. So I got that video coming soon, but he's my tight end one because I feel like he brings toughness. He can stretch the field. He can pretty much do it all. Versus Jalen's kind of just more of that. He's kind of that Pitts type, wide receiver is tight end. I feel like in Dallas Cowboys perspective, we don't need that. We need a guy who can like block, get tough, get gritty, get the tough yards, and I feel like Trey McBride is that guy.
Oh yeah, and you couldn't miss him. I mean, the first thing that I walked in and saw was Trey McBride's booty, because he's like, this dude is like, does his leg work, like he is all in, and very motivated to be on the field,
Right.
Like, even like your eyes are drawn to him. Like Isaiah Likely is one that I feel like everyone was, he gets a lot of buzz, and he's going to be a good tight end in this league, very strong hands. But he would show these like insane flashes. And then he was kind of quiet otherwise during practices, whereas like my eyes kept going more towards like a Greg Dulcich instead of seeing Likely. And, you never know what kind of work and what's happening with the coaches and how much opportunity they're getting too. But again, I think it's a fairly strong tight end class.
I agree. So who would be your tight end one? Like I said, I trust
McBride.
McBride. Okay.
McBride.
Boom. And then that's why we're here. Because you got good taste, right? So I know I can trust you when it comes to tight ends.
And he went to Colorado State, like my brother.
Yeah. There you go. Boom. It's all in the family. And I think my guy Big Game James was out there, and he met Trey McBride's family, and so they're great people. Like they're just a hardcore football family. So hopefully he'll be wearing the star. Yeah. If you guys take Jermaine Johnson, then we'll take Trey McBride, and then that way it's kind of an even swap. There we go. Wide receiver. So a guy that I'm very high on, small school guy, but with big school ability, is Jalen Tolbert out of South Alabama. Had some big catches in practice, few drops here and there during the game, but it wasn't really his fault. It was like bad thrown balls. But I feel like he could be the player that can come in, be our wide receiver, our slot guy, stretch the field, big catch radius. He can pretty much do it all. I like Jalen Tolbert out of Alabama. What was your thoughts on him?
I didn't pay enough attention to him. I can't even lie.
Gotcha.
I didn't, and I wish I did, but there was a couple guys, and again, like, you kind of, as much as I go down and I'm like, okay, I'm here for full NFL and fantasy and this, it's like, then I start to get a little biased and I'm like, okay, the Giants don't really need it until later on.
Right.
And then now my attention is going another direction. But people were definitely impressed with him. People that I trust definitely had a lot of good things to say. So you do want a wide receiver, huh?
Yeah, we need a wide receiver because right now I'm not sure if you're hearing the rumblings, but we could be possibly moving on from Amari Cooper. I mean, we only have 3 wide receivers signed to contracts. Yeah. That's Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Simi Fehoko, who we drafted last year. So Michael Gallup's in limbo, Cedric Wilson, Malik Turner, the list goes on and on and on. So if the Cowboys are going to do cowboyish things and move on from Cooper, we are going to need another wide receiver opposed to CeeDee Lamb. But hopefully it's not the case. But I would like a slot wide receiver, and I like Jalen Tolbert. Even though he wasn't at the Senior Bowl, Sky Moore is another guy that we've been talking about on this channel as well. And another wide receiver who I liked was Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. And so, yeah.
He was so good. Like, he was absolutely, like, in my opinion, like the most consistent wide receiver that was there. Mm-hmm. He is a very tall, big-bodied wide receiver, like, just so consistent. Mm-hmm. Fantastic deep balls, a nightmare when it comes to the contested catch. I was a huge fan of his.
Yeah, and see, so he is 6'2", 200 pounds. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that Christian Watson could be that Michael Gallup type player for the Dallas Cowboys. And I think his hands are a little bit more reliable than Michael Gallup. So, you know, we have a lot going on, Steph. As though we were 12-5 and
it didn't seem as quick as I wanted him to be, but like he had like, you want to make a play, he's going to make the play. Like
exactly.
Period. And that's what you need, especially with when you're looking for a big-bodied guy like that. Mm-hmm. Some people are saying that he is faster than maybe. We'll see with the combine.
Right, we'll see, and that's what's really going to get these players to the next level is the combine. Like, okay, does the numbers match up to the performance on the field? So I feel like if Christian Watson runs a decent combine and has a great showing, he could probably slide up into the mid-second round-ish
sure.
As of right now. So I like him. Let's see here. He said, more than Michael Gallup? I think he could fill the void for Michael Gallup, y'all, to be honest, if we were to move on to Michael Gallup. But, you know, it remains to see, because a lot of these guys, we know what Michael Gallup is. We don't know what any of these guys are. You know, they get drafted, they flame out, things don't work. But just from the eye test and from my scouting report, I feel like he could step in and be that Michael Gallup for the Dallas Cowboys specifically. You guys got enough wide receivers. You guys are good. So
do we? We'll have to see. I'm probably gonna lose my Sterling Shepard this year, which is gonna break my freaking heart. But it's gonna probably be time. We're pretty broke in that cap space. There's a lot of money tied up with a couple of these guys, so I probably will lose my love. But
where you go? I think Sterling Shepard. Yeah. I'm not sure what his market.
More of an exciting name to some other teams than Shep is, unfortunately, despite their performance. Yeah. Exactly.
So back to the defensive side of the ball, we mentioned Perrion Winfrey, Jermaine Johnson, another guy that I like. And he had a few. I think he had 2 sacks actually on Saturday. D'Angelo Malone. He's outside defensive lineman, edge, a little bit of linebacker. A slim guy, but he can just get in the backfield. I like what I see from him, y'all. I'm going to drop a video on him soon. And also the defensive lineman, defensive tackle, Logan Hall out of the University of Houston. And so he's just a big, nasty dog that can get in the backfield. Now, we have a lot of 3-tech defensive linemen. Like, we don't have that nose guy, that nose tackle, that 1-tech. And I really just didn't see one that stood out in the Senior Bowl. Did you see any just big, nasty nose tackles out there that might fit the bill?
I'm trying to think and looking at my notes, seeing if I have anyone written down. So obviously not. I mean, there's no one that is like I'm thinking of right away. But Travis Jones, maybe?
Okay. I think I heard his name a few times on Saturday.
Play nose? Did he play nose?
And see, that's the hard part. Is like you're watching the Senior Bowl game, and it's all broadcast to you. Yeah, there's a lot. You're like, I'm like you're scatterbrained because I'm watching so many players.
You start confusing names together, and I'm like, why am I confusing names together? Like I was there, and
someone said Travis Jones.
Really long week, but I'm pretty sure. Let me just make sure.
Yeah, they said Travis Jones out of UConn.
What would your primary picks be for the Cowboys? Like, what positions do you guys want to fill, like first, second, third?
All right, let her know in the chat, y'all. What is your primary thought process? Me personally, in the first round, I'm thinking offensive guard or linebacker, depending on who falls and who slides, right? So if it is a Kenyon Green, I would be okay with Kenyon Green. Personally, I like Tyler Lindenbaum out of Iowa, but I just don't think we need well, I do think we need a center. I'll take that back. I don't think the Cowboys is going to take just a center. We've been mocked with Nakobe Dean a few times, linebacker out of Georgia. We did a mock draft the other night, and Devin Lloyd slid to us. And so it's like, all right, if that happens, if I'm looking for guard and I'm looking for linebacker in the first round, second round, I am possibly looking for tight end and safety. And so another safety that kind of jumped out was Leon O'Neal out of Texas A&M on Saturday. I felt like he had a great showing. He was playing in the box, outside the box, just making things happen. He was violent, so I like what I saw from him. There's also a few other safeties out there who we're going to talk about. Dodson. Well, no. Daxton Lloyd, it was the other guy. I'm trying to think. So safety, tight end, and then maybe third round, I'm going wide receiver or defensive tackle or edge. So that's my thought process as I'm going through it. But it all depends on free agency, who's going to come back. And so we have, 21 free agents on the defensive side of the ball, I think, this year. So so something like that.
Well, I feel like you need to look into Travis Jones then for defensive tackle. He definitely stood out to me. He was actually probably one of my favorite guys down there. Even he's from UConn, and every once in a while UConn does give us a nice prospect coming into the league. He just had lateral agility that you don't always see from a lot of these guys. And I think his strength in general, he was just pushing guys as far back as you could even imagine, just a complete bully. And bully is kind of the word that I think, I'll use that as my, what was on brand for all of these defensive players, where they were absolute bullies. So again, you have to also think, is it because they were a little bit stronger of a showing than, the offense? So what made these guys shine too? But he's someone that I'm gonna keep my eye on. He could end up going maybe end of second, early third, I think.
Okay, cool. And then I'm trying to think of another one. Oh, so Boye Mafe, defensive end out of Minnesota. He had a good game on Saturday as well. So those are, and then did I mention Trevor Penning, offensive tackle out of was it Northern?
You did not yet.
Yeah. So Trevor Penning, I feel like he's a player, offensive tackle, that is jumping. And my guy, Professor Oda, says he pretty much have to take offensive tackle in round 1. Offensive guards can be found in 2 to 5, right? But I feel like what you're hearing from Trevor Penning, his name is jumping up quite a bit. So what was your thoughts on him?
Yeah, he was another one kind of like a Zion Johnson that stood out to me. I got let down a lot by, guys like Raymond out of Central Michigan, who I still see getting, in these drafts getting taken a little bit higher than I would like. I don't feel like his technique, he felt a little sloppy to me. And a lot of these guys too, they're just relying a lot on strength and their everything about their hips. They just again, I'm gonna use the word, they got bullied. They just looked like clowns. But Penning was another one that I definitely liked. And a lot of these guys, they'll go to teams, and there is some kind of transition period from, being in college. It's a different game. It's a faster game.
Much faster.
It's not the same. So there is going to be some kind of we're not going to get Rashawn Slaters all the time. So there are some of these guys are going to need to have someone have patience and to fine tune all those things that need to be fine tuned.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Rashawn Slater last year was an anomaly. That's why we were high on him last year, because you just don't get that type of talent every draft. Now, there are some talented guys, but I feel like for a lot of the guys that I've watched thus far, it's going to take them a while. Besides, the 2 top tackles in Nealon and Kwame, I feel like those guys are going to be NFL ready day 1, which is probably going to go back-to-back draft picks, right?
Right.
But I feel like, it might take a lot of these players some time to get revved up, so they might be depth pieces originally, and then eventually it can emerge into something, especially in Dallas Cowboys offense. Now, you do fantasy content. You're one of the best to do fantasy content, even though I got whooped this year, Steph. I got my fantasy team. I got whooped.
Listen, I think a lot of us did.
Yeah, you were supposed to hold me down, and I took a beating. But it wasn't due to you. It was due to injuries. My whole team was just injury reserve. But just not just Senior Bowl, but just in this draft, what are some fantasy guys you're kind of already got your eyes circled that, all right, if they're available, I'm going to take them early?
I am going to have so much Dameon Pierce.
Okay.
It is going to be absurd. He is going to be one of those guys that gets overlooked because he was underutilized in college, but he has all the talent to be a very good running back. I was so impressed with him and absolutely have a, now draft crush on him.
Dameon Pierce. All right, so you guys heard it first. Dameon Pierce. And y'all can trust Steph. Like, she does good content. As long as they stay healthy, I would have won my league.
Yeah, I know.
And
well,
if Derrick Henry would have came back a few weeks earlier, I probably would have took off with the money. So Michael Miller asks, who was your biggest mistake, not unpredictable injury this year? Like your draft bust, the guy that you were high on and that just flopped out.
The biggest one, and people will tell you, and I missed on it, and it's an embarrassing one, and maybe I was a little blinded by vintage Bill Belichick, and Mr. Jonnu Smith definitely hurt my feelings. That 2 personnel did not fly the way I wanted it to. So I missed on the Hunter Henry thing. I thought that Jonnu would be the guy over there. He's definitely one of the first ones that comes to mind when I think of one of my bigger busts. But I'll come out and admit it. When I'm wrong, I'm always willing to admit when I am wrong.
It happens. My guy DMV says, I can't trust Giants fans. She's a good one. She is a good one. Y'all can trust her. I would say,
if I start talking crazy about Saquon and Kadarius Toney, just zone me out, all right? Don't listen to my Dale Jones nonsense. But when it comes to that, I try to do my fantasy work is very unbiased as far as that goes.
Right, you have to be unbiased in some situation. Now, I did draft Saquon, and I felt like the only reason I took him because the cover was bare, like everyone was gone, and like it was just Saquon staring me in the face, like that.
You
Puff
can't
Daddy.
lie.
Yeah, it's just like, I need a running back. It's Saquon right here. Or like I had to, and I got a game or two out of Saquon. Like, it was just worthless. So
it was a nightmare. And again, the New York Giants were a disgrace to football last season.
Right.
Like, that was the first year in my entire life, born and raised a Giants fan, that I remember shutting off the TV. Like, I have never shut them off before. So having to shut them off because it was so you could not watch it. And I think a lot of that, there's the line, you can talk about the quarterback. The whole team was an absolute disaster because you look at games like versus Saints, and you're like, where was that team the whole season? And once injuries hit, it was a disaster. So if Saquon ends up on another team, cool. If he's still back on the Giants, cool. But his draft value is.
So let me ask you this: do you think that he will return? What's your gut telling you when it comes to Saquon?
I don't know where the reports come from, so I can't tell. I don't know if it's the smartest decision because we've seen guys like Booker, like James Conner, need to get paid as well and still be able to perform like an RB1. So my gut tells me we keep him, and maybe that's my heart talking. I would be upset, but as much as I would miss Saquon, I miss the Giants being even a 500 team. Very. And I would still root for him. So if he ends up somewhere like the Bills or Miami, I think it would be great. I think he will be just fine.
Yeah, sometimes they just need to change the scenery. I don't think Saquon is a bad player, but
no.
I think you guys would be making a mistake if you brought him back for a big contract.
Right.
Because, we know the running backs, the treads on the tires can start to show early, especially with Saquon with all the injuries. Will he ever be what they kind of expected him to be? I doubt it.
Yeah.
Let's see
and you wonder too, maybe they will let him get shopped a little bit, and if they don't end up, getting some offers that they're not excited about, maybe they just keep him another year and figure it out from there. But again, it was really hard to function or do anything, and I know Booker did absolutely. I'm not saying he didn't have more success than Saquon, but it's really hard to be able to even tell. You can barely evaluate the Giants players because you barely got football. That was not even football.
Right. I had high expectations for the Giants, honestly.
Yeah,
but
me too.
when I knew your season was a dub is when we played you guys at AT&T Stadium, and I got locked in the elevator. I told this story. I got locked in the elevator for the first half during the Giants and Cowboys game. I had to get my Cowboy reader, and I went in the wrong elevator. But it was just like a blowout game. Like, I felt like the Giants were going to be more competitive this season. And I thought the reason why was because of Saquon Barkley. I feel like if he came back healthy, Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator, knows how to get the run game involved because he had Ezekiel Elliott for those years. But it just never fell through. And I was shocked, to be honest with you. But it seems like you guys are starting to head in the right direction. My guy Matt O just says that with the new hires that you guys had, the Giants are moving in the right direction. So it can be, you draft well, bring in a new culture, new coach. Things could change. Daniel Jones isn't the worst quarterback in the division, so I feel like he can still.
God forbid you say that to the Giants fans. They'll have it.
So do Giants fans hate their quarterback too? Because I would
say majority do, but then again, I look at fan bases, right, like the Vikings, and they don't even understand how good they have it with Kirk Cousins, who does not miss games, and they're still hating on this dude. He can get the job done. I think that fan base, there's a lot more to dislike about the coaching that had been there. You have everything you need.
Right.
I don't know that it's Kirk Cousins that's the problem. And I had Eli Manning. I know what it's like to be blessed with a quarterback that does not get hurt.
Right.
So I look at fan bases like that, and I'm like, you have no idea how good you have it. You could be running through it with the Bears, the Broncos, who have been stuck in limbo with a bunch of guys. And I think, Giants fans don't like him, but when did the Giants start losing games? When Daniel Jones was gone.
Right.
He can win games, and that's enough. Can he become enough of a game manager? Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if he's the guy, but I know that we can win games with him. And I think no one's been there to actually teach him what he needs to be taught. He needs an O-line. He needs consistency.
Right.
And I don't know if he's going to get that ever with the Giants. So he may not work out. But I think it doesn't make sense to get rid of him next year.
Yeah, exactly. And see, she's not a Cowboys fan, but I've been trying to say the same thing because you see it all day on Twitter, right? Cowboys fans have this hate for Dak Prescott. It's I feel like NFL fans, I don't know where it comes from, but it's if you don't have Pat Mahomes, then your quarterback sucks. It's complaining, nonstop complaining.
And
we're
so, I don't know if it's a lot of the younger fans or what it is. I don't think, I get that the league is changing, and I got it, but you can absolutely be a successful team without a Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Would it be better? Oh, absolutely. Right. I'm not saying that you don't. Yeah, that's great. But there's other ways to build around someone like a Ryan Tannehill, right? I wouldn't consider Ryan Tannehill an elite talent, but Ryan Tannehill has had success, and he does well enough to take his team to the playoffs. And I think that people get a little, it's easy to blame the quarterback when you're watching games. Your eyes zone in on the quarterback, and I get that, and it's so easy to blame them without looking at everything else that's happening.
Exactly.
Y'all hate your fan base hates Dak right now.
It's bad. It's a lot of reasons that goes into it, right? Because they feel like that Dak Prescott took Romo's job, and it was just Romo's job, and so they hate Dak for that. And then, they feel like he got overpaid and he didn't deserve the money. And then how this season, it's just nonstop.
Jerry Jones overpays
everybody. Yeah, exactly. And so it's just nonstop complaining when it comes to Cowboys fans of Dak Prescott, and it's nauseating. So, it's just I don't even address it anymore. It's all right, it just is what it is. But they don't know what it was like to have, those dark days of Quincy Carter, and it was just bad for so many years. It could really be that way if you don't have a quarterback. And you mentioned the Bears. See what Washington is going, how good Washington could be if they had a quarterback. It's not as easy as people think. They think it just grows on trees.
I really feel like Washington, even I said this last year, I felt like they were gonna regret not trading up and going and getting a guy. Because, you saw what Washington was doing the year prior. And then this year, it was they turned into a totally different team and did not live up to what they were capable of with the roster that they had. So I think a quarterback is definitely, of course, it is so important. It's one of the most important positions. But if you have dysfunction going on, it does not matter.
Yeah, exactly. He says, Dak is a good quarterback. Kellen Moore, not so much. Most franchises would be excited to replace a good quarterback with another one. You'd think we would have to learn to be grateful for life after Troy. Yeah, exactly. To be able to go from Tony Romo right into Dak Prescott and not have that lapse, You should be thankful because we could have fell off a cliff and could have been stuck with Kellen Moore being our quarterback for that time. So not just Senior Bowl, Steph. Let's step out entire draft. Give me 5 guys who you got your eye on. You already mentioned 1, so give me 4 more that you're got circled right now. That's your guys going to the draft.
So Dulcich is another one. I've mentioned 2 now.
Okay.
Calvin Austin is someone that, as much as I thought he was overhyped, looked so freaking good at the Senior Bowl. Like, the practices he was having, you could not keep your eyes off him. His ability to get separation when heavily defended was awesome. Strong hands. I mean, it was downpouring this practice, and he was not dropping the ball. I felt like there was a lot of people that didn't like him, knocking him for maybe his route run. No, he was fine. He had a very strong showing as far as that goes. Connor Hayward, fullback. This man might make me love fullbacks again, and I was a fullback hater. He might be one of the most versatile players in this entire draft. I mean, the kid played tight end, wide receiver, safety before in his past, and I think that he's going to go to a team and have a very strong presence in the NFL. No, fantasy people, you're not going to give a crap about
him. Fullbacks are trying to make a run. Now, we got a fullback as an undrafted free agent in Nick Ralston, who I love, but we decided to use our backup offensive lineman as our fullback on some weirdo stuff. So, it's all right. So that's 3.
So I feel like I'm trying to give you guys other ones that we haven't even talked about. Braxton Jones was another O-lineman that maybe I want to see where he ends up. I think that placement, he had a lot to like, but he was another one that was kind of getting bullied a little bit. But I was excited about him coming in, so I think that maybe his placement is more important than anything. Rashad White is another one that looked great. Who else?
So let me ask you this. So how was the practices out there? Was it just a lot of individual drills and they've come together for teams? Did they do 7-on-7? Like how
it was a lot of like 1-on-1, 7-on-7. They went through, it was very separated, and they usually ended, practice more like 7-on-7. So you got to see, a lot of guys, some of them looked much better in 7-on-7 than they did on 1-on-1. But I thought they did a good job. The Jets side coaching, they seemed a little bit less prepared for this than
kind of freelancing
than the Lions did, who were very, very motivated coming in. But I mean, my dog is knocking things over right now. She's like, you don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of another one for you. Christian Watson, that placement is going to be huge. Another one, a sneaky guy that I know a lot of people were excited about. The BMI crowd is going to have a field day with him.
Here they come.
I know it. Trey Turner out of Virginia Tech. Keep your eye on him. If he goes somewhere that is willing to work with him, he could be a very good weapon. He was very consistent. You look at Jones Jr., who was the guy that I was going there to take a look at, and my eyes kept going to Trey Turner. And yes, he's smaller. I understand that. I get it. But he's someone that I definitely have my eyes on.
They don't like the small guys. They got on us last year, Steph, about that, right?
Big guys. I got it. You guys can like Watson, whoever.
And they want big in size and measurables.
I mean, there's a lot of guys in this draft that are not super big. So everyone better prepare. I mean, Damian Pierce is like 5'9", 5'10". Like, a lot of these guys are a lot smaller than you expect. And yes, of course, there's your big body dudes, but and Falele too, that kid, everyone loved him. I felt like he was just relying a lot on his strength. So I'd like to see where he goes, how he transitioned to the next level.
Yeah, he didn't have the greatest bend from what I saw. Like, he's just.
But everyone was super excited. And again, I feel like I see this a lot where people get,
oh, he's big. Look how big he is.
By how big these dudes are. And I get it. He's big, and his weight is just distributed very vertically, and he's a very strong dude, but I felt like a lot he was getting beat because he was relying a lot on just his strength. So there was a lot of technique that needs to get cleaned up there, but could he end up being fantastic? Sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, the size, the measurables, like if you're creating a football player, you're going to create him with that size and measurables, but he was getting beat a lot out there from what I saw. So, we'll have to keep an eye on it, but he could be I think he's more of a project tackle versus an instant starter in the impact he's going to have. But at that size, He's got to take the size
Yeah.
and hope he can figure out. So we'll see. Now,
Everyone will hate this, but he reminds me a lot to like Matt Pert out of UConn that we took, where like his body is, he's very upwards with his weight. He has long, nice arms, with the technique really needs to be cleaned up.
Right, exactly. And at the next level, they key on that and they'll take advantage of it every time. Now,
you can't just be a big boy, right?
Can't just be big for nothing is what I call him. Yeah, I can't big for nothing. Let's see here. Filele, cool. Let's see. Turner skills isn't the issue. He's tall. He dropped weight, 175 pounds. Yep, BMI.
I know. I'm praying that he gains some
But see, the
weight.
Cowboys, we need some of those smaller wide receivers. I mean, I don't think like 175-ish, but we have a lot of the big 6'5", 6'6", like the big lanky type of wide receivers already in house. Like we need a fast guy who's kind of a jet, like an Ant-Man type wide receiver, and there's a few out there. Dotson, Moore.
Dotson, he's another one.
Exactly. Now, Steph, I cannot let you go without getting your prediction for Sunday's game.
Gosh.
Who you rolling with?
And I'm starting to talk myself out of it. I, as a New York Giants fan, understand that underdogs can win, obviously.
Right.
There is a lot to like about both these teams. I think that if Aaron Donald, though, gets hot, I think that the Bengals are in for some serious problems because that Rams, they could cause some serious problems.
Right.
That being said, I like the fight in the Bengals. I think the score is going to be somewhere like 31-27, somewhere in that area. And one of these teams is just going to pull out in front on the last play. It's going to be very similar to all the games we've seen.
So you think it's going to be close?
I think it's going to be a close game, and I'm going to stick with my Bengals. But that did start switching. I said that at a show earlier, so I don't want to be inconsistent
right.
With what I said. But ask me later in the week, and I might be back on the Rams.
Right. We still got time. As of right now, I'm conflicted because y'all know I love me some Jamar Chase. Like, he was pretty much my 1B.
You loved him.
Yeah, I love Jamar Chase. Like, as much as I love Pitts, like I said, I would have sacrificed it all for Jamar Chase. So I would like to see him get a ring, but y'all know I'm a Florida State fan, and Jalen Ramsey is my guy. So I love Jalen Ramsey. I love Cam Akers. So those are my guys. Aaron Donald. So I'm kind of pulling for them.
Yeah.
But I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted right now. But I feel like if I had to lean, I feel like I would pick the Rams because I've been speaking so highly on the Rams all season. And all the people in chat were getting on me like, oh, they don't need to be concerned about the Rams. They're overrated. I just feel like they're talented. So I'm thinking, as of right now, Tuesday, I'm going for the Rams. But I might switch. I might just say, you know what? Sunday morning, I'm going with the underdogs.
I don't like that people are starting to get on the Bengals bandwagon. That makes me like not want to. That's what I'm not loving. Well, like I liked it when it wasn't cool to like the Bengals.
right. And exactly. And I got to keep it 100. You know, seeing the Bengals go to the Super Bowl, it was exciting and cool. But as a Cowboys fan, I've been a hater. Like, like the Bengals, like, I would have been able to tolerate a lot more if it was. Are you
kidding? Part of my brand is that nothing matters if the O-line sucks. Like, that is part of my brand. I literally have like 5 things that people, if you said my name, probably they think of, and that is one of them. So they have totally clowned me, but again, I still thought the Chase pick was better. Burrow doesn't need as much time in the pocket when you have a guy like that. So I think that's why he's been able to compensate for it. But, the Rams are had the 3rd most sacks in the league, and the Bengals are sitting pretty at the very bottom of sacks allowed.
Right.
So this could end up turning into a situation where it may not look so pretty.
Oh, well, it's going to be that one game where the offensive line finally wakes up and protects Joe Burrow, and it's just set to be that way. But like you said, it's like, all right, you give up 9 sacks in a game and you still win, and you come to Arrowhead and beat this, like, it just makes me a little bit haterish. I'm a little salty right now watching the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. So
I agree.
I'd rather just the best team win than I can feel like, okay, the best team in football kind of won. Like, they're talented. They went all in. They won. It makes more sense than sitting back and watching the Bengals just win it all. And
we know from this year, the game doesn't start till the 3rd, 4th quarter.
I agree.
That's been this season. So, like, I'm expecting it to end up, you get a momentum change at some point, as you do in a lot of these very big Super Bowls that we know in history. And there'll probably be some kind of shift. And, even before half, what the Bengals were able to do, like that totally shifted the entire game. So I think we'll get kind of one of those moments and someone will end up dominating the other.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. This is my guy DMV says, just because the Rams went ahead and built the wrong way, I feel like they will win and change the way people build their teams. I felt like they built the right way. Like, I wish the Cowboys would take the Rams approach versus this Patriots approach. That's a whole nother
Either way, whichever team wins is going to cause absolute chaos.
You can build through the draft and get your quarterback. And you're like, nah.
You don't need O-line. Look what Burrow did. Or
get a winning team through the draft. And you don't need big names. Like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'd rather take the Rams approach and just load up my roster and go superstar heavy, get your ring and get out. Like, I'm with that.
Yeah.
So.
I agree.
See, the over and under for interception Stafford this game. Well, you do props as well. Any insight on props? I know you're going to be foaming at the mouth for props on Sunday.
Yeah.
What props are you looking at?
I have to look at what the odds are. If there's a plus money interception prop, I promise you I'm taking the over. I love that in games. You're going to see it happen. I think both these teams' defense are going to have to come out hot. The Bengals secondary is not as bad as everyone's saying. I don't care what everyone says. They've looked good and they've been able to, get those interceptions in important moments. So I like Stafford to turn the ball over if they are not relying on the run game, which they might try to do that very heavily if they can get Akers hot. But I would take both of these guys. It wouldn't surprise me if they both turn the ball over. I like Stafford to turn the ball over probably more than I like Burrow to turn the ball over.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Matt Stafford could probably throw for like 400 yards, two interceptions and 3 touchdowns and win Super Bowl MVP. That's just his game, how it goes. And yeah, so if it's like 1 or like 1.5, I'll take the over on Stafford. So we shall see. Well, Steph, I appreciate you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. Keep doing your thing. You are killing it out there. If you look on TikTok, Instagram, wherever, it's just Steph everywhere. So I appreciate the hustle, appreciate the grind. Tell everybody where they can find you at.
Sure. You guys can find me on Twitter at Stephie Smalls with 3 L's. All my work is with Champions Round. You guys can see my stuff on Twitter. You and I will have to link back up as we approach the draft. And of course, after the draft, it's always fun to have a sane conversation with a fellow NFC East fan. You don't get it a lot. Appreciate you, and you keep grinding. And thank you everyone that was kind to me in the chat. I'm not looking. I'm sure some of you maybe weren't as nice about the Giants fan here, but I always love.
They don't mind the
you
Giants
guys have a good
here.
community.
They don't. Cowboys fans, we don't get too about the Giants because the Giants, we understand the Giants, right? You guys have tradition. You guys win rings. It's just. But with the Washington Eagles, it's completely separate. They're playing each other and they're chanting "We want Dallas" in unison. It's just weirdo stuff when it comes to those other two teams. So we don't really mind them. So
it's weird.
Definitely appreciate it. And we will link back up for the draft. Hopefully, post draft, we're calm because sometimes after those draft shows, you're just like, what did we just do? But
what just happened?
Right.
Yeah.
Why did we do this? But I feel like the Cowboys.
Gotta let the dust settle a little bit.
Yeah, let everything settle. Digest it. Okay, what were we thinking? And everything is okay. But we definitely will link up. Are you going to the draft?
I am, as of now, going to the draft.
All right, so we'll be at the draft.
2 first-round picks. I gotta get my booty out there.
There we go. So yeah, we'll do content at the draft. So we'll definitely do that. Everyone, I appreciate you for tuning in. Cowboys fans only. Comment, like, subscribe. Get those likes up. Get those shares. We appreciate all the support here on the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, jtuck151, and also cowboysfansonly.com to get your merch. And I will be, you guys didn't catch last night's show, so I'm doing behind-the-scenes coverage with the Super Bowl. So I should be dropping some interviews on the channel this week. See, here's the thing. So I got media credentials for the Super Bowl, but I need to read the fine print to know what I can post, what I can share, what I can do, because I don't want to disrupt it week one and blow the opportunity. But I think I can share the content, so I'll post some of the interviews on the channel. Maybe some Rams fans will join in. Maybe some Bengals fans will join in, kind of watch that. And I appreciate all the support. But we got more draft videos coming through, more film breakdowns, got a lot of prospects to go through, more mock drafts on the weekend. So definitely turn that notification bell. to make sure you don't miss out, man. It's your boy J Tuck. I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged. And yes, Steve, come party with us in Vegas for the draft, right?
Yeah.
And I want everyone to stay safe, stay blessed, stay encouraged.